Mike Gill, State of Corruption. That's right, a crime syndicate headed by Bill Shaheen, the husband of Senator Jeanne Shaheen and Alex Walker. A drug cartel headed by Dick Aganos. Not any drug cartel. What I believe is the largest drug cartel in this country, a distribution center for the country, and all working closely with the FBI, who are part of this corruption, who quite literally ran an operation to destroy evidence of these murder attempts. They knew that Brian Toomey, my vice president, and my paralegal, Carrie Lemieux, had evidence on that computer, and they ran an operation. The U.S. attorney at the time was John Kakavas. He used a man by the name of Jonathan Irish to obtain the computer and cell phone to have them destroyed so he could get a deal and get off on selling 9 automatic weapons to an undercover agent, which is exactly what he did. So let me start by saying, I'm going to indicate to you and show you with absolute proof, evidence, that they tried to murder me 3 times in a period of 13 days. That's right. And just days before, the cartel filed a lawsuit against me. They weren't going to sue me. They knew I had the evidence. They knew I had state troopers, arrest warrants, witnesses inside the hospitals, the treatment centers, their laundering systems such as AutoFare. But when these attempts became public, they were forced to do so. Let's just say they were going to settle out of court with a bullet. All right, so let's start by showing you that I tried to report these incidents. You'll see a small 2-minute clip, evidence to die for. I was in Washington with that computer, with that evidence, explaining to them that this was the evidence that would have outed an organization of corruption, a crime syndicate, the largest drug cartel in this country, and absolute evidence that they tried to murder me. And the witnesses.
We have to go to Washington.
The U.S. Attorney Office is an entity of the United States Department, so is the FBI. So
By state level.
No, on the federal level. They all work for the federal government, FBI and the
Right,
U.S. Attorney
but
Office.
these individuals come from the state and are controlled by these individuals. Millions of people have seen what I've said. Listen, this stuff is indisputable. Clay, can you grab that? You're gonna see pictures asking me to murder. 3 attorneys in hiding because they're afraid to be murdered. My attorneys. This is how big this is. This drug cartel has corrupted the state, as it has many other states. But I am telling you, they're in the hospitals, they're in the treatment centers. I have witnesses from the treatment centers. They're selling drugs out of the treatment centers. You can't bring this back to the state, which is why I'm in Washington. I need somebody above that.
I understand your frustration, and I understand.
But this isn't frustration, this is corruption. Listen, they're trying to murder me with this.
I'm trying to be right.
But don't give me the people that everybody here, million people are going to see this, know that I've already been there. And it is true. This computer has the going on between the people inside my company, Bill Shaheen and Alex Walker, to the point where they scheduled my death on that computer. Right. And you know who Bill Shaheen is? He's the husband of Jeanne Shaheen, the senator. That's the kind of pull we have. I ran for governor. They tried to murder me. No doubt about it.
And you could see how they knew exactly who I was, as they did in the FBI office in Bedford, New Hampshire, only to return the computer. Isn't right, Agent Hassenbecker? Only to then to go to the Bedford FBI in New Hampshire, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and U.S. Attorney Farley returned the computer the next day. Do you know why they returned it? Because they know what's on it. You see? And now the evidence is in U.S. Attorney Lullen hands in Boston, the Boston FBI. Now guess what? You might recognize Lullen. He's the one who's prosecuting the admission scam, getting national attention. Not because he's covering up murder attempts, not because he's covering up the largest drug cartel in the United States or a crime syndicate. He's running these people down for a little public relations. All right. So if you've heard a better movie, you let me know. This starts by them owning my vice president and Brian Toomey and Carrie Lemieux, my paralegal, which is a long list of paralegals and people that work for me. You could see that if you go to the list. It's a settlement offer with the requests, the patent of this and corrupting all my court cases, including against the drug cartel. This has been their method. Now, I had never had a murder attempt previously. Not that I'm aware of. But I took a trip to Miami, to the Ritz-Carlton, to meet up with the president of the National Mortgage Association. So I understood. Turns out, Brian Toomey and Carrie Lemieux set that appointment up for me. They knew that I wanted to give criminal information regarding the banking department. See, the banking department was the hot button. I didn't quite realize at the time that they were also laundering the money for the drug cartel. See, so Toomey and Lemieux let Walker and Shaheen and the Attorney General's office of the state, Assistant Attorney General Richard Head, that's right, Dick Head, my information. They gave it to the cartel. They were meeting me in Miami to murder me. What you'll see is a brief video, no room service. You'll also hear 2 Miami police detectives on recordings discussing my case. Turns out that a Russian, 6'7" nationalist, could barely speak English, was coming through my door, had a room key. I met him at the door and pushed him into the hallway. At that point, security caught it on camera. And also, the hotel called the Miami police. So I had 3 security agents, 2 Miami cops, and a 6'7" Russian nationalist with a knife. No dispute, no argument, nobody saying that isn't true, and they let him go. Now, you'll hear no room service when I called and asked the Ritz-Carlton for the copy of that report, as I have with the Miami police. And you tell me if it doesn't look like a stall. Like Alex Walker. That's what Carrie Lemieux did. She gave them the schedule. She put the appointment together. They knew exactly where I was going to be. You know why I had to give them that evidence the day before? They wanted to know what I had on them. And it was enough for them to try to murder me. So you're going to hear this conversation with Mr. Crowley.
This is Mark.
Yeah, Mark, this is Mike Gill. I haven't heard back from you.
It's because I'm still waiting on a little bit of information from the hotel.
What little information?
Well, the guys are busy down there, so they haven't been able to get back to me. That's not unusual with hotel operations.
I did tell you this was an attempted murder, and I'm running for governor, and this guy's still out there.
What does it have to do with your running for governor? That's what I don't.
Oh, like assassination and murder, because I'm fighting corruption in this state. I mean, let me understand this. This is a break into my room. Your security people stopped them, talked to them, gave me a combined an hour interview. And all I'm asking for is that report. So what does it have to do with running for governor? Well, I mean, they did try to kill me. Now, your people have that. Mark, you still there?
Mike, I don't know what they have. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm still waiting.
But you're telling me they're busy. So in other words, I'm going to go national with this. And if you find out who I am, all you have to do is look. I don't make idle threats. So
Look, I'm trying to get the information for you.
right, I know, but I've been trying to do this for 2 months, and Marriott keeps stalling me in Ritz-Carlton. Now, what's the problem with giving me the report from 11/29 of a Russian 6'7" breaking into my hotel room that we only interviewed for an hour? Now, I'd like that report. Now, I've only been looking to get it for, I don't know, since November of last year.
Well, you said the police came out. What about a police report?
Well, you know something? I'll deal with the police, but I'm dealing with you. You people wrote a report.
Mr. Gill, why are you screaming at me?
Well, I don't know. Let me see. I've been trying to get this for months. There was an attempt on my life in your hotel, and you're asking me now after all these months, and it's still a delay because they're busy. I don't know. What's more busy than someone coming into my hotel room to murder me?
Hi, this is Sergeant Matola with Miami Beach Police. If you can give me a call back at 305-877-2427 regarding your case from the Ritz. Thank you. Yeah, hi, this is Sergeant Jeff Matola with Miami Beach PD calling regarding your case. Yeah. If you can please give me a call back at 305-673-7776. My extension is 3706. Thank you.
The next piece you're going to see is a hitman that came into my office. No kidding. My Manchester, New Hampshire office. I have never been in that office in 20 years past 5 o'clock. I work out of a different office and never in that office, but never, ever in 20 years in the evening. Now, who had my schedule? The same Kerry Lemieux and Brian Toomey. They knew I was shooting a video later that night with someone who was in trouble, and I was going to help them. Well, the office was dark. It was hours after closing. You had to go up a flight of stairs to get there. I'm sitting in a back room, conference room, with Aaron Day, the person that I was working with against a drug cartel. This man walks into the office, doesn't say a word, goes through the office that's dark, goes into the conference room that I'm in, slides along the back wall until where I'm sitting, reaches behind him and pulls out a gun, points it at my face, and then a gong goes off. The gong meaning that appointment that I had suddenly came in, meaning there was a third witness. This guy exits without saying another word. I came that close to dying. Aaron was in the room, had his face covered with his two hands. He wouldn't have been much help.
You can talk to the feds. I don't need to talk to the feds. Well, it's already reported. This is the guy that was in. He just showed up today. Ain't that a bitch?
I'm here to support you.
No, you're not.
Yeah, you're not. I'm a victim.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's what that was.
No, it's not.
I remember he said he goes like this. Did you hear him say he went back for his phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He didn't pull out a phone.
What are you talking about?
You didn't pull out a phone that day.
What are you talking about? You're right.
Listen.
What's his name?
I want you out of here.
All right, no problem.
Good.
But I'm telling you, I'm on
Get the fuck out of
here. All right.
Yeah, you can talk to the feds.
Now, the next morning, I meet with Aaron Day again to discuss what we're going to do with the information we just had and what we're going to do with this hitman. I get a phone call from a gentleman inside my office saying this same Carrie Lemieux has got her ear pressed to the door and been listening for 20 minutes. I opened the door, she almost falls in. What are you doing? Oh, I just got here, not knowing that I knew different. You see? Within the next 48 hours, I caught Brian Toomey, took that computer and cell phone, fired Toomey, and Toomey gave up Carrie Lemieux in about 30 seconds. They were giving my locations up, both times, both murder attempts. And this had happened now with this hitman days before the cartel filed a complaint. Because what happened was the cartel was going to settle out of court with a bullet. They didn't want to sue me because they knew I had 5 arresting state troopers at different times. I had a prosecutor. I had 2 state senators. I had witnesses inside their hospitals, inside the treatment centers, inside their laundering systems such as AutoFare. That's how these people settle things. All right, so I want you to consider that visit from the hitman. Day 1. Okay, within the next 2 days, I'm in court in front of Judge Francois. But just before I go to court, I get a text message from Ted Little, one of my ex-attorneys, saying he has evidence and that he's afraid for the lives of his children. And I mentioned going to certain authorities, and he said, you know the corruption of the authorities. I did. And then he only threatens to murder my son. Tells me where he moved to, who he's living with. I'll show you those texts. Now that morning I went to go to court in front of Judge Francois, along with I brought Aaron Day and a Ms. Rumpler, who were both working for me and both videotaping. Turns out there's a letter on my chair of my car. In that letter, they explained to me how they're going to chop my children's heads off, all 5 of them, and mail me their heads back one at a time. That's right. Now, I made copies of those letters. Aaron Day and Rumpler saw those letters, as well as the text from Ted Little. My children were in jeopardy. When you don't stop after they threaten to murder you or try to murder you, they tried to threaten and murder your children. See, that's how this works. Now, I went in front of Judge Francois, again on videotape, and explained to him, Your Honor, I've got evidence here. And I explained the letter about cutting my children's heads off, the facts that I had the gentleman names who threatened to murder my son. He refused to take them as evidence. I go, Your Honor, they're threatening to kill my children. He kept on insisting that he wouldn't take the evidence. When I insisted he did, he had me arrested, put me in shackles. When I came back, Aaron Day was gone, Rumpler was gone, and those letters on my desk was also missing. The judge then turns around and says, Where's Rumpler and Day? Did they leave with those tapes? When I tell you this bastard went out of his mind, he did. He knew that was evidence of his corruption. He ordered them to be destroyed. Now Day and Rumpler, short time afterwards, were threatened by the cartel and capitulated and started working with them, destroying evidence, giving my witnesses out. Aaron Day was meeting me with these witnesses. Rumpler was videotaping these. So now, from that hitman to that hearing, we've got 2 days. So now I'm in jail. You'll see a mugshot. You'll also see evidence. You'll see the first day I spent in jail, they took my blood pressure 5 times. I found that pretty interesting. And you can see my blood pressure, 160 over 100, a few points here or there. I'm not saying it's the best, but I ain't going anywhere. But then I also realized they might have been planning for me to have a heart attack. Don't forget, I'm not telling you I haven't been lucky about staying alive. And by making these things public has helped me stay alive. But a little insight wouldn't hurt. So now day 2. I have a visitor. Somebody's visiting me? That's right, an attorney. They tell me it's Dave Carney, who used to be a friend of mine. Used to work at the title company. But when I went into the room, sitting at this desk was not Dave Carney. Was an attorney Broderick. I had never met him before. Now, Mr. Broderick turns around and sits me down and says, "Take the deal." What deal? He goes, the $50 million. Travel the world. Enjoy the rest of your life. No kidding. He was sent by this crime syndicate. He was sent by Walker and Shaheen and the cartel. They missed the hit. They gave me an option. Take the money and live. Or don't. Well, I've made one considerable mistake along the way. And that's telling Attorney Broderick to stick it. I even quoted a passage from the book of Revelations. Behold the pale horse, its rider is death. I felt biblical at the time. And then I realized I just signed my own death warrant. They weren't going to have me leave that jail. So you know what I did? In case you questioned it, remember now, we're on day 4, I gave Broderick a letter. And you see his email and letter back to me admitting and saying what I gave him. In writing, I told him, I said, send this information to the DEA. Send it to the FBI. I'm going to be murdered this evening. Wow, that's a bold statement. I explained about the blood pressure and the tests. He wrote it all down. He was supposed to call the DEA the next day and the FBI, and you hear him say in his letter back, "Oh, I tried them, they didn't answer. I think I called them at least once." What do you mean? What does at least once mean? Meaning, could you have not called them? Well, I can tell you this, nobody came. And that night, I know what they were going to do. They were going to put something in my food. I've got my medical records now. The same records that they didn't want to give us. Right. Let's turn around and look at something. Let me give you that 10-day stay. And I want you to remember, I went there because I had evidence, 2 sets of evidence, on threatening to murder my children. One was pretty descriptive about cutting their heads off and mailing them to me. But they don't want to see that. And when I insisted is when I went to jail. Okay. Now, you'll see, and I'll post this. They took my blood pressure 5 times in 30 hours. Wow. So concerned. I'm touched. And you know what? 146.88, 160.90, 160.100, 148.82. Right? High blood pressure. But then I had a meeting on the second day. 5 times in the first day. You tell me the last time someone was that concerned that they took your blood pressure. Now, it's high, but it's not like I'm going to drop dead. Not that I thought. So then I had a meeting with a Jared Broderick, a lawyer. Wow, a lawyer come to help me on day 2? Now, I've already had 5 blood pressures taken. And they called me out of the cell and said, you have an attorney here. I go, really? I got an attorney? This would be good. And his name's Dave Carney. Now, Dave Carney was an attorney that was a friend of mine years ago. Right. So they knew that if they gave me that name, I'd come out and see this person. Well, it turns out it wasn't Dave. It was Jared Broderick. And you know what Jared told me? Take the deal. Take the deal? Yeah. Travel the world. He was representing them, telling me to take the deal. And you know what? I told him to go to hell. And then it hit me. And the look on his face. Listen, if it wasn't for a little instinct, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in business, and I wouldn't have made all the hundreds of millions I've made. So I've learned to trust that. The look on his face said that I was in trouble. I shouldn't have told him to tell them no deal. Not when I was in prison. Not when I was in a jail where I couldn't protect myself. Now, how could they get you of what you had eaten? So we don't have to guess, and I'll post this too. In fact, you'll see the communications with me and Jared. I turned around and said to him, and this is, I emailed him after the stay. And that letter was that they were going to try to kill me that night. Now, I'm going to read this to you, so we're not in dispute. Now, how do you think that I thought that? Wait a minute. Let's go back to the 6th blood pressure taken that night. You know, the one at late in the morning, maybe 1, 2 o'clock, where I was laying on the floor, my hands blue, my feet blue, right, trying to get help. And it was only after I started recovering and other prisoners yelled out. My blood's taken then, 100/56. My diastolic only dropped in half. I went from a 90 pulse rate to a 54 after I recovered. Right. Lucky guess, huh? So from that on, I was drinking milk and juice that was closed containers. And I'm still here to say that. You can explain to me how this happened? And this is why they fought for those records. There's no accident. That's what went on. Now let's speak to the lawyer, the one that I was giving this information to, going to the DEA, giving him evidence to come in here and write this situation. Let's see. Jared, during your visit, I asked you directly, in fact, I insisted that you speak to someone on the DEA on my behalf. You see, I'm in jail. They know I cornered this drugs information. That's where I was in danger. At this time, I've not heard any follow-up regarding the conversation with the DEA. I need to know who you spoke to and the content of the conversation. And a follow-up meeting. All right, this is his response. You asked me to speak with someone at the DEA to convey your concerns for your personal safety. All right. So on the day that my blood pressure dropped in half, right, was the same day that this lawyer who came in to see me admits that I said that information to him and told him to go right to the DEA. Well, let's go on. I agreed to call the DEA on your behalf and relate the same and set up in person the meeting that's necessary. Geez, thanks, Jared. I called the DEA multiple times and left messages, at least 1 or 2. Wait a minute. Multiple times, at least 1. The fuck does that mean? And thanks for your concern. I've received no calls back. Wow, no one called you back. Really? That's funny. Once I heard that you had been released, I did not follow up any further. Well, thank you. It was day 2. I only had to starve for 8 more days. I go on. Let's go to question 2 to Jared. You might recall during the visit, I handed you a letter that indicated it was fear for my life. I asked you to give the letter to Aaron Day. Mr. Day has stated that he did not receive that letter from you. Do you still have that personal letter? You know, the one that said they're going to fucking kill me tonight? Let's see. I recalled you handed me a small bundle of assorted papers, one of which you did indicate in handwriting notes expressing your concern for your safety, among other things. Other things? Other than killing me? What do you think? I had a problem with what? The bunk? I never gave everything I had to Mr. Day. I did not retain anything. In your email referred to as a letter, which was causing some confusion. I might have just appeared the notes. Oh, well, I'm going to post this. There was another couple questions, and he answered accordingly. You ready? So my lifeline didn't go to the DEA. Said he called multiple times, maybe once. He's a lawyer, by the way. You see? That's exactly how I knew. And that's exactly the follow-up. How's that for a cover-up? These bastards did try to kill me. The guard watched me over my tray. I had one bite. Threw the rest away, flushed the rest. They thought I ate the food. That night I had a bit of an episode. Right. My hands turned blue. My feet turned blue. I could barely speak. I thought my head was going to explode. I was obviously having an episode with my heart. I tried to have the strength to ask for help. I rolled off the bed, crawled to the door, and banged on it for help. I was going in and out. At one time, I heard the guard just turn around and say, "Just lay there and die." Now, what if I told you there was someone in the next cell who heard it all? A young man. And you're going to hear a recording that he came forwards. He yelled for help. Till finally they had and was forced to open up the stall. And what that guard said to the nurse was, "Why isn't he dead?" She goes, "I don't know." Now this person in the other cell heard it all. You can see now with the evidence, they took my blood pressure. It had dropped in half. It was under 100 over under 50. And that was my recovery rate. There is no question I had an episode. No, think about this. This is all in 4 days now. And I've never had a situation like that before in my life, before or after that event. Okay? So I wound up eating anything that was closed, like a bag of chip or a juice that I was submerged in water. I had to get out of there, realized you're going to stay alive. It's not a good place to be, is in jail. Now, when I get out of jail, as it turns out, I met with that cellmate again, not cellmate, he was in the other cell, after he got out. And you hear him confirm what I'm telling you is true. They sent 2 people in my cell just before I leave to threaten to beat me. And let him tell you I stood in front of that door and said, "Come on in." And Jay witnessed the second day I was there. You remember was late at night, maybe into the morning.
Yeah.
You heard me screaming, asking for help.
Yes, because I was right. Our cells were connected, well, interconnected.
Yeah. So you heard me asking for help.
Right.
And you heard them saying, "Shut up and just lay there."
Yeah, just stay there, lay there, calm down.
Right. Calm down. And, you ready? When they finally did come in and took my pressure, I was 70 points lower than I was that afternoon. My hands were blue, my feet were blue. These bastards tried to kill me. That's exactly what they tried to do. Do you remember I didn't eat the rest of the time?
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Fasting.
Well, what I would do is I would sink the milk and the juice to make sure it wasn't leaking, and I lived on that for the rest of the 8.5 days.
Jeez.
Right.
They
didn't let me out of the stall one time.
No.
No phone calls, no nothing.
I know.
But you did hear me threaten them all, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm coming back.
And I mean it. I am coming back. Thank you. You're going to help a lot of people, and I need more brave people to come forwards and tell their story.
Yeah. It needs to get out there.
One last thing. for Officer Valencia. My understanding is they got a little nervous once I left.
Oh yeah.
They had a lot of guards talking.
A lot of talk, a lot of chatter going on.
A little harder to get drugs in there for a little while.
Yeah.
And it turns out that they moved Valencia.
Yep, they did.
All right. Well, now we're going to get back to rest. We made a promise. We're going to make a promise. I am going back. We are going to clean this up. And they're not going to kill our children. Mike Gill, State of Corruption. But you know what they did to him? They beat and raped this young man for helping me. Now I'm going to carry that for the rest of my life. You want to know why I do what I do? How's that for a reason? Okay. So now let's go to day 13. Now we've just had 2 murder attempts, and on day 13, you'll hear we got a call from a hitman, from someone the cartel tried to hire to murder me, who worked for the cartel, was an enforcer. The video's called Kill Gill.
Listen, I'm a street guy. I went to jail. I used to hurt people for a living. And you know what's funny? Long time ago, when I don't get involved in politics, they wanted me to hurt you. And I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. It's New Hampshire. You had gotten arrested or something, and somebody's like, hey, listen, how much to fucking kind of make this guy go away? I'm all set. I'm all set. I got out of jail a long time ago. I have a child.
They've tried to kill me 3 times.
Yeah, they're a bunch of idiots.
3 times. Once in jail.
As far as Andy...
You can listen to the whole video, but that excerpt was, you were just getting out of jail. They hired me to hurt you, to make you go away. So wait a minute, I survived jail, and they were hiring someone to take me out. And then 2 days before I go to jail, this guy comes in the office to murder me. Now, how are you on coincidences? No one tried to murder me before. I've never had a heart episode. And those were all in 13 days. You get it? No accident. This is exactly what happens. And the FBI knows it all. And the reason why it's so important to tell you here and now, because I'm in Washington and I'm pushing the envelope. The evidence that you're going to see in a series of videos are the evidence that the Attorney General's office have. Attorney General Barr has. From the IRS to the NSA, from multiple senators and congressmen, you have this evidence. Senator Lindsey Graham, you've asked about corruption and the corruption in the FBI. Well, I've given you that evidence, along with several other senators who claim it's in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Well, let's do something. Mike Gill, State of Corruption.